There's gotta be a better way. Hi, I'm Dave, and this is Dave's Weird Project. In today's episode, I'm making a mount for my phone to make it easier to shoot video when I'm painting a miniature. When I was filming the process of painting Mad Coil in the last episode, it became really clear that I need a better setup. Did it work? Let's find out. This is the lamp I'm using. It's a nice magnifier with a light. It has 3 different color light settings, and you can adjust the brightness on it too. It's really handy. So the basic idea goes like this. I've got my lamp, and I'm painting my mini, holding my mini onto the lamp. And I want you, the viewer, to see what I'm doing. So I want to make a cradle that's going to hold the phone above the magnifying part, so that the camera sees through the lens and you see what I see. Plus, if it's right there on top of the lamp, I'll be able to monitor what the camera's doing. I started by marking out the bed for the cradle that the phone is going to sit in. The gaps along the 2 edges are to make space for foam walls, and those are accounted for already in the 2 inner lines where I'm going to cut. Here's some edgy cutting footage. Should I cut this footage? I made the marks for the bed just eyeballing with the phone, so I needed to measure afterward to know how long I needed to make the side pieces. I cut 2 half-inch wide strips of foam board that were long enough to each make 1 short sidewall and 1 long sidewall. Then I just dry fit them together to make sure they're gonna do what I want them to do, make a little cradle for the phone to sit in. Looks good. Before gluing the walls on, I needed to cut out a window so that the phone camera could actually see through the cradle. That's important for doing things with a camera. So I made some marks of roughly where the phone's cameras and sensors are, exaggerating quite a bit so that it can move around and not get blocked. Then I just made a rectangle with right angles at the extremes of those marks to make my little window. Then I just cut it out and use hot glue to put the sides on. One of the long sides was a slightly tight fit. Either I didn't cut it short enough by a millimeter or so, or I put one of the short sides too far in. Hard to say. They seemed flush when they went together, but I don't know. It didn't matter, it still worked. With the cradle done, I needed to figure out how to actually hang it or mount it to the top of the lamp so that the camera could see through the magnifying glass. So I figured the first step would be to make a ring that goes on top of the lamp. So I had to measure the diameter. And our basic geometry tells us that the radius of a circle is half the diameter, and our compass needs to be set to the radius. So I set my compass to half the diameter of the ring. The first circle I drew is big enough so that the ring will overhang the lamp by about ½ an inch. This I thought would help me make some bumpers that will kind of grab the side of the lamp when it fits onto it. The next 2 circles are the actual diameter of the lamp, and then the smallest one is the diameter of the magnifying lens. And then I just cut the ring out. Cutting circles isn't that hard, you just kind of pull and twist and pull and twist and pull and twist as you go. Then I also had to cut out the inside so that I have a ring. And there we go, 1 ring that fits on top of the lamp while still letting us look through the magnifying glass. Next I needed to start figuring out how the cradle was going to fit onto the ring. I knew it needed to be at a slight angle because of some testing I did just having the camera flat. It didn't get the right view through the lens to show what I was looking at. It was very difficult to hold the 2 pieces at an angle and hold the protractor and accurately measure. So I kind of took a guess that it was about 20 degrees and made 2 right triangles in the foam board that had a 20-degree angle. I used the width of the ring to figure out how long I needed to make each wedge. Then I lined them up parallel on the ring and lined them up so that they wouldn't reach the edges of the cradle, but close. I thought it might be a good idea to test out that bumper idea I had earlier before I glue the wedges on, so that the bumpers would be easier to stick on. But I thought it might be wise to use some blue tack to put them on there first so I know if it's going to fit before I glue them. I don't know why I didn't remember this later. You'll see. The bumpers are just little squares cut off of a 1/2-inch strip of foam board that I had made earlier when I thought I was going to do 1/4-inch walls for the cradle. I just stick 3 squares on top of each other, first with blue tack and then eventually with glue. Sticking them on with blue tack first lets me pull them off, put them back on so that I get the right fit on top of the lamp. See? Nice and snug. I mark the current position of each bumper. And then use hot glue to put them on. Next, I completely forgot the wisdom of the blue tack and just glued the wedges straight on without trying them first. After doing a quick test using my son's phone, I realized that the angle was all wrong. This is okay. Mistakes happen and we learn. We cuss, but we learn. I carefully cut the wedges off, which was tricky, and then made new ones that were at 35 degrees. I tried to do a little bit more measuring this time, and I think 35 was about right. I also added in a couple of small supports on either side of each wedge, just to help keep them straight. I did a few tests with blue tack this time, haha, I'm learning, just to see if the cradle would kind of fit, and I found that the cradle had a hard time staying with just the bare edges of the wedges. So I thought it might be a good idea to make a sort of back plate that would glue to the wedges and then the cradle would glue to it. And I also added some supports between it and the wedges, again, just to help keep things straight and supported. I did a test holding the cradle in one hand and a mini in the other underneath the magnifying lens. The backplate I made encroached into the window for the camera to see through when I had the phone at the right position, so I just did a cutout to fix that. I did a couple more tests with blue tack and made some marks for the exact angle of the cradle on the plate, and then I glued it on. Here's the first real test with everything glued and mounted on the lamp. In this kind of controlled test where all I'm focusing on is the camera and holding the mini in the right position, it seemed okay. And here I'm just pantomiming moving a brush around a figure like I was painting. This isn't actually a very good test of what it's really going to do when I'm actually using it. And here it is sitting on the lamp. It can be rotated to get you a better angle. And here's some footage from upcoming episode where I paint Olbar from ElfQuest. And you can see it's really hard to keep it consistently in frame. It's hard to keep the lighting consistent. And the warping at the edge from sort of looking through the magnifying lens at an angle is something else I find kind of disconcerting. So it worked, but I'm not happy with the result that it gets. Like, the phone is definitely there and held in place and filming through the lens. I think I can do better. And that's really what this channel's about. Do what you can, see what you like, and then try again. I had fun making this, even though it didn't produce the results that I wanted. Just tinkering around with the foam, adding supports, making it functional was pretty cool and a good learning experience. Before I get to the lessons learned, I'll do all the standard pleading. If you enjoyed this video, please push the like button, maybe the subscribe button, and the little bell guy that makes you get notified. Maybe share. If you want to support the channel, please consider some of the links below. There's a link to my book on Amazon. It's pretty cheap in e-reader form. And I've got some Amazon links. I do get a small cut of whatever you spend there, but it doesn't cost anything extra to you. Also, there's a lot of links down there to other channels that I really like. I do these projects as much to learn something as to make something. So let's go over some of those lessons now. On the crafting side, I learned always to try to get a dry fit you can work with. Don't just jump in and start gluing. When the wedges at 20 degrees didn't work, I got really lucky that I was able to cut them off cleanly, or almost cleanly, and start again. Blue tack is a great help for this. And also, if you're working with foam, I learned from Mel the Terrain Tutor, link down there, that you can use straight pins to pin foam together. So I'm definitely going to be trying that out next time. On the video side, I learned to always be sure of what's in the shot before you start shooting. You probably noticed some ugly black boxes in this video and the last one where I painted Mad Coil. Those were added during editing to cover up prescription bottle labels. I've since stopped using prescription bottles, but you will see some more of them in the video where I paint Olbar. That's about it for this one. It's actually a fairly quick project. It took more than twice as long to do all this editing and recording than to build the thing. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and also I'd love to hear about any practical projects where your crafting skills came in handy. I'm thinking of making some paint racks, one for my miniature paints and one for my craft paints that I use on scenery and terrain. So I'd love suggestions on other useful projects. Till next time, take care everybody. Upon reflection, I realized that the majority of this episode could be seen as a step-by-step guide on how to make something that doesn't work. I'm torn on publishing it. I mean, obviously, since you're watching, I published it. What I'm concerned with is that someone might watch this and not find out till the end that it didn't work, and then be upset because, oh, well, I wanted to do this too. And I think that speaks to the goal of this channel. You might think that this is a channel about teaching you how to do things, how to do creative projects and things like that. Kind of. But I would say it's more about teaching you how I do things, how I go through the process, and how I make mistakes, how I mess up and come up with ideas that don't work. I think a lot of content creators out there, and don't get me wrong, I love their content, absolutely. But they produce videos where the finished product is great. They don't show mistakes, or if they do, they're very minor. And I wanted to approach this as a means to help people get inspired to be creative and understand that they're going to make mistakes and that that's okay, that the process of making things is the reward, not the thing at the end. The process of doing and cutting and painting and gluing and dreaming up ideas, that's the fun part. So I hope that is how this video is received. Till next time, take care everybody.